Okay, you want to determine the effect of dietary fat intake on serum cholesterol. And the way I do it is take random samples of 1,000 adults from each of 80 countries and make a scatter plot of the average cholesterol level in each of those, for each of those groups of 1,000 people versus the average daily fat intake for each of those groups of 1,000 people. And the scatter plot turns out to be roughly football-shaped. The correlation between the average daily fat intake and the average serum cholesterol is 0.8. The scatter plot's football-shaped, so I compute a regression line. The line has slope 2. So 2 milligrams per deciliter of serum cholesterol per gram of fat intake per day. All right. So is it true that for the sample, people who consume 1 less gram of fat per day than average have a serum cholesterol level of about 2 milligrams per deciliter less than average? Right? This number is supposed to be the slope of the regression line. Right? Those numbers are the same. So I've got the scatter plot that has 80 points on it. And I compute the slope of the regression line. And as you go over by, so as you go down by 1 gram of fat per day, you go down by about 2 milligrams per deciliter of serum cholesterol. Okay? So is it true that in the sample, people who consume 1 gram of fat less per day on average have lower cholesterol in that amount? False. Okay. What's going on here? Okay, this is ecological correlation, right? The 80 points here are not people. Each of the points represents the average of 1,000 people. Right? Okay. Is the correlation coefficient likely to be higher for people or higher for averages of 1,000 people? Probably going to be higher for averages than for individuals. Sorry? No, it doesn't have anything to do with skewness. It has to do with more like variability across people. Tends to, like the example of education versus age. We did a scatter plot in the room of individuals' education versus age versus if we divided people into freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors. I mean, in the extreme limit, you'd have 2 groups of people. A straight line would fit perfectly, right? So it's going to tend to have lower correlation for individuals than for these groups across countries. Okay, so this is false. What about this? This is asking you about a causal relationship. It's saying that, is it the fat intake that is causing the cholesterol? So if you reduce the fat, will the cholesterol be reduced? Right? The scatter plot is saying when you look at what people actually, what averages for people based on what they happened to do, higher fat had higher cholesterol. That's a different question from what happens if you intervene and reduce fat? Does that reduce cholesterol? Or if you increase fat, does that increase cholesterol? Right? This is about association. This is a question about causation. There is no intervention here. This is not an experiment. It's an observational study. You have no idea what would happen to these people if you changed their dietary intake. Okay? So this is false. You don't know what happens if you intervene. That make sense? Okay. Could be that, I mean, this is obviously silly, but it could be that well, there are other aspects to their diet or behavior or whatever that lead to having higher cholesterol. Could lifestyles are different in different countries, right? There's a lot of things that are different. Genetics are different in different countries. There are a lot of things that differ aside from how much fat you eat. Yep. Okay. All those things could contribute to cholesterol. All right. Because of ecological correlation, this study has little bearing on the effect of dietary fat serum on cholesterol for individuals. That's just rephrasing the reason why we said that 1 is false. Okay? So far, That's false, that's true. And then 4, because it's an observational study, you shouldn't infer a causal relationship. Yeah, that's true for the same reason that this is false. One of the same reasons, okay? So we've got false, false, true, true. So 3 and 4 are true, 1 and 2 are false. Yep, okay. There's not a closest answer in this case. There's an actual answer, yeah.